Dying Light 2 is here, and wow, there is a lot of stuff to talk about, stuff that they're not talking about to you in the game. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things Dying Light 2 doesn't tell you. Starting out at number 10, the Dropkick is even more overpowered this time around. Probably one of the most hilarious and fun moves to use in the first game was the Dropkick, and no surprise here, they brought it back for the sequel. But when I first heard this, my inclination was, oh, they're definitely going to balance it out a bit and make it not quite as effective as in the first game. But wow, I was wrong. If anything, it's better than it used to be. It doesn't just send multiple enemies flying when you connect with it, now it does a ton of damage. The only downside to using it this time around is that it costs a little stamina, but not much. As long as you haven't completely used up your stamina, you're probably good. Like, this move is great for thinning out crowds, kicking dudes off rooftops, and it's especially handy for taking on human bosses. And it's because there's basically no answer for this move. It breaks guard, it's unblockable, and when you hit them with it, they get knocked back, and it gives you an easy opening to beat on them while they're trying to stand up. If there's any traps around, you probably won't even have to bother with that. One good drop kick to the fuse box can sometimes kill a boss in one hit. It's almost too good. The drop kick in this game blows the one in the first game out of the water, which is crazy, because in the first game, it was ridiculous. At number 9, there is a great trick to grind uncommon infected trophies. Probably the grindiest aspect of Dying Light 2 are these infected trophies, which are exclusively used to upgrade crafting supplies. The only way you get them is to kill special infected, and they drop at 3 different levels: uncommon, rare, and unique, depending on the infected you looted from. Most upgraded crafting recipes, they're major improvements, so you're gonna need a lot of these trophies if you want to upgrade anything. But strangely enough, probably the type of infected trophy you'll be short on the most is supposed to be the least rare, the uncommon infected trophies. The issue is that you need a lot for upgrading, and you probably won't be finding any if you play normally. That's because the 2 most common enemies they drop from, the virals and the howlers, are enemies the game trains you to avoid. So if you want to get a lot of uncommon trophies fairly quickly, you got to do that. Go out at night from the bazaar and find a howler. Kill them, loot them, and start running, because they always get a howl out if you kill them normally. Now you're gonna be chased by a bunch of virals, which are the fast ones. So you run around until you find this truck in a narrow alley along the wall at the bazaar. You go inside it, you stand on the ledge, you just bash any virals that try to come in. Just keep doing it, and eventually you'll have a pretty nice pile of bodies to loot. This is the best place I found near the bazaar, because there aren't any normal zombies here to get in your way. So you can go and get all the virals. All the virals. It's annoying to have to slowly loot each body, so just run down the alley and come back, and all the bodies should be replaced with packages that you can collect way faster. So that's it. Now just rinse and repeat. You'll get a ton of uncommon infected trophies for upgrading purposes. If you're not quite tough enough to take on that many virals, an easier but less efficient way to get trophies is to start a chase, then run to an IV lamp and attack them from there. They'll stop and try to run away when the chase ends, but you can still hit them in the back and loot them afterwards for a few easy trophies. At number 8, you can mod weapons to restore durability. In the original Dying Light, repairing weapons was really easy. You just used a weapon repair kit and you're good to go. It's not so simple in the sequel. For players just starting out, you might think that there's no way to restore a weapon's durability because there's no repair kits in the game. But there is a way to fix your weapons. For all the tutorial messages that the game throws at you, it's never straight up explained, but modding weapons also repairs a portion of a weapon's durability. That means the best time to mod a particularly good weapon isn't when you first get it, but to wait till it's about 50 to 75% used up. So that way when you mod it, you're not just making the weapon stronger, you also maximize the amount of time you get to use it without it breaking. That's not the only way to preserve your weapons either. There's also a particularly powerful grip mod that you can use to increase a weapon's durability by a flat percentage. The mod starts at a 10% increase when you buy it, which is okay, but every time you upgrade, it increases the durability by increments of 10. So if you upgrade this mod, you can keep using your favorite weapon for a whole lot longer. Like, it's gonna eventually break no matter what. Maybe not in a Breath of the Wild way, but it is inevitable. So at least you can delay the inevitable a little bit by making your weapons last a lot longer than they normally would. At number 7, Noisemakers are still very powerful. One of the most useful tools in the original Dying Light was the humble Noisemaker, which is literally a bunch of firecrackers bundled together, which can be used to distract zombies. It's fairly useless against human enemies, obviously, but for a large group of zombies, it's incredibly handy. The obvious use for these is to sneak around zombies, and they work really well for that purpose, but they're also really good when you're in combat. Like, if you mistakenly wake up an entire dark zone or want to clear out a convoy, there's just no better way to deal with it than to throw a firecracker near an explosive, wait for the zombies to pile up, and then kill all of them. It doesn't matter if they're alerted or not, the Noisemaker overrides everything else as long as they're not special infected. But that's really only a good thing because using the Noisemaker makes it so much easier to separate out the special zombies who are relatively weak on their own but a huge pain when they're surrounded by other zombies. Upgraded Noisemakers are even more powerful too. They lure the zombies for a longer time and at a greater range. So proper use of Noisemakers can turn a dangerous situation into an easy one. They're just all around great. At number 6, the starting paraglider is not great. It takes a long time to get access to the paraglider in Dying Light 2, but when you do, it is incredibly satisfying to get a chance to fly all over the place. Only problem is the unupgraded paraglider you start out with kind of sucks. The main problem is with how slow it is. Unless you've already put a lot of points into stamina, you can barely stay in flight for more than a few seconds. That's why it's important to upgrade as soon as you can, because trying to get around the downtown area with the standard paraglider, huge pain in the ass. The cost of the upgrade is pretty steep, but it is 100% worth it. The second area is also very different from the first. It's more vertical, there's a lot more space between everything. If you're constantly falling to your death because of the paraglider, that's going to be really frustrating. So at upgrade, all you need to do is get a pretty big wad of cash and some military tech, which you can scavenge from airdrop locations. They're marked with parachutes. They're not hard to find. Each location has one piece of military tech, and you need 3 to upgrade. So these things are challenging to get to, but one funny thing about them is they actually refill after a while. So you can go back to an already cleared drop and pick up another piece of military tech if you want. Keep that one in mind. Put that in your pocket. I think you'll like it. There's an especially easy one near a Night Runner outpost in Horseshoe, and every time you go back there, there's new military tech to pick up. So you can easily get enough just by continually coming back to this spot. At number 5, throwing knives are great for a lot of reasons. The easiest way to get rare infected trophies is through bolters. They're really annoying on their own. They start running when you get close, and chase them down is a pain. Just use a throwing knife the second you spot one though. That'll stagger it and let you close in for an easy kill. Just one knife turns these annoying dudes into absolute pushovers, and makes it so rare trophies are actually some of the easiest ones to get. It doesn't just work on bolters either. Bandits are basically the same thing, except they show up in the day, but the knife is just as good against them, and depending on what you're looking for, the loot's probably better. Throwing knives are incredibly versatile and only get better when you upgrade them, because upgrades don't just increase the damage they do, they also stagger the enemies for longer after upgrading. So they're great for taking out runners, dealing with crowds, and even fighting some bosses because they can do some real damage considering how cheap they are to make. At number 4, old world money is the most important resource, which how much time this game dedicates to crafting, you'd think that money in Dying Light 2 would be kind of an afterthought, like in the first game, but it's actually the total opposite. In this game, what you really want is money. Crafting materials are actually a distant second place. The biggest reason is because stores actually sell good stuff in this game, instead of just being a place to dump vendor trash. The stuff you buy in stores is almost always slightly better or even way better than the stuff you currently have, and that counts for both weapons and armor. Getting money is also a relatively simple exercise as long as you focus on it. There's 2 types of areas that are great for making money: Forsaken Stores and Dark Hollows. The Dark Zones are another good place to get some money. They have these dangerous gas areas that always have a hard chest to open in them, and it's always filled with valuable stuff. But if you go into one of these places, you definitely have immunity boosters handy. But look at the descriptions for these places. If they've got a diamond on them, that means they're filled with valuables. You just go there at night, equip some armor that makes it hard for zombies to detect you, and then just walk around and grab anything not nailed down. You don't have to sneak in these places as long as there aren't any wandering zombies. All the ones that stand in place will just never notice you if you keep your distance and don't run. Easiest places to loot are Forsaken Stores that are filled with crystals. These things are worth a lot, and because there's only a few of them in the store, they take a lot less time to collect. I don't really have a full-blown strategy to make money in the game, but as long as you're looting valuables, you're obviously going to be in good shape. At number 3, upgrade lockpick blueprints to open chests and doors faster. Like, you're doing so much unlocking in this game. So anything that's going to speed that process up is definitely helpful. Most of the crafting recipes you get give upgrades that are just flat improvements, but if you upgrade the lockpick, it actually unlocks a new ability where you can sacrifice 2 lockpicks to instantly open certain locks, starting off at easy and moves up from there as you upgrade it. It's an easy thing to miss because for a lot of people, lockpicks are the last thing you might think about upgrading, and you have to upgrade them at least once before the game tells you you can even do this. But they're one of the cheapest crafted items you can make, so there's really like no good reason not to instantly open locks whenever you can. It's small, but with all the lockpicking you do in the game, it really adds up quick. At number 2, there's an easy way to take out Goons and Demolishers. Other than Volatiles, the 2 toughest special infected to deal with are Goons and Demolishers. They're big guys who take a lot of damage, and they're normally pretty difficult to avoid. At the start of the game, you'll see a lot of these guys hanging out in military convoys, and they're pretty intimidating until you realize their one weakness: butt hugging. Basically, just do what works against any giant monster in Dark Souls. Get behind them and stay there. They will really struggle to hit you if you manage to get behind them, especially if you stand partially opposite their weapon arm. Once you get back there, they have a hard time trying to turn and face you, so it's actually pretty easy to just get behind them and start wailing away. The most dangerous thing they have at this point are the other zombies, so just distract them with a noisemaker and you can take these guys easy and in peace. You might still take a hit or two, but with some practice, these guys are out in no time. They look pretty scary, but once you get behind them, they just is not much they can do. And finally, at number 1, you can kind of dual wield. Kind of. A little. The guns in the original Dying Light were pretty fun to use, even if they eventually kind of broke the difficulty of the game. The sequel is a different story, though. There's long-range weapons like bows and crossbows, but there aren't really any guns except one, which, yes, the gun hammer. A hammer in the shape of a gun. No, we're not talking about the homemade shotgun, which is a single-use weapon you can craft and use it as an accessory, but you can use this at the same time as your main weapon, which kind of counts as dual wielding. If you equip the gun hammer, you're technically dual wielding guns. So yeah, if you want to go full Dishonored or Deathloop, just equip the homemade shotgun and a machete and you are good to go. That's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. We upload brand new ones every single day, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this one. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.